Hello, I'm Edward de Chazal from Jurassic Academic, and today's presentation is on reading, academic reading, and my title is 10 Steps to Better Academic Reading. 10 Steps to Better Academic Reading. Let me start by mentioning each of the 10 steps, then we'll go through each one in more detail. Step 1. Context and personalization. Step 2. Reading speed and reading load. Step 3. Genre, audience and purpose. Step 4. Topic and meaning. Step 5. Essential elements. Step 6. Stance. Step 7. Perspective. Step 8. Citation. Step 9. Critical response and evaluation. Step 10, next steps and action. So step 1, context and perspective. You can find online a questionnaire of 10 questions. These are questions for us as readers. Question 1, for example, is how long do you spend reading in any language on a typical day? Question 2, where and how do you find the texts that you read? So, have a look at these 10 questions, answer them in English, compare your answers with a colleague, a peer, another student or teacher. See what you think. This will contextualise you in the middle of your position as a reader, as an academic reader. Step 2, reading speed and reading load. Probably we all have too much to read, so if we increase our speed we can read obviously faster, more efficiently, and we can get through more material. Let's look at 10 ways of doing this. I've got more information online, but here are the 10 in brief. 1. Establish why you are reading. 2. Work out what is most important, read that first. 3. Read selectively rather than reading the whole book or article. 4. Read some texts in non-linear order, which is in relation to your purpose to reading. 5. Match your reading technique to your purpose. 6. Constantly adapt what you read and how you read as you read. 7. Make sure you have some output for your input. Notes perhaps. 8. Try reading multiple texts. Read them of similar length, read them and set yourself targets, time yourself, track yourself, set yourself ways of improve your reading speed that way. 9. Keep a record of what you read, that's the whole reference. And finally 10. Maintain a good pace of reading. Read in English every day, regularly. Cover different kinds of texts. This way you'll improve your reading speed and your reading load. So these are adaptation, experimentation, order, practice, prioritization, purpose, reading, making a record, selection and technique. Step 3, genre, audience and purpose. Let's look at an example. Here's a textbook. The genre is a school textbook. The audience is students aged 15 or 16 who are studying science. That's the audience. That's who the textbook writers wrote their textbook for. And the purpose? Well, primarily to present information, so to inform, to explain, but also to persuade. Inform, explain, persuade. Genre, audience, purpose. By knowing that, we'll know the kind of text we're reading, why they were written, and for whom. Let's look at the 4th step, which is topic and meaning. The topic is what's the text about. The meaning is the most important thing that the writer wants to communicate. So the text is about different sources of energy. Have a look at the text online. The purpose of the text is essentially to define and explain different kinds of energy. And the main idea is there are 2 types of energy source, primary and secondary, and people should consider is sustainability in their use of energy. Step 5, essential elements. These are the elements or the building blocks, the components of text. There aren't a huge number, perhaps 36, and each one is a part of the text. For example, a definition, evaluation, example, citation, perspective, argument, analysis. These kind of elements that make up a text. We can identify them and label them. So, what are the essential elements in this text? Well, we have definition, explanation, exemplification, and evaluation, possibly a claim. So these 4 essential elements are what the text is made up of, and they're related to the purpose of the text. By working out what these are, we're going to understand the text much better, much more fully. Let's have a look briefly at the language. So, definition, X is Y, that's a very frequent definition. A primary energy source is one that is found or occurs naturally. X is Y. Exemplification, we have words like for example, or examples include, or such as. We have this kind of language. Evaluation, we typically use evaluative language such as sustainable, damaging, important, useful, interesting. These are evaluative adjectives. This brings us to our 6th step, step 6, which is stance. Stance is how we stand in relation to something. Now the big question is, in this text, what is the author's stance? What is their stance in relation to energy use, sustainability? Is it A, in favour of carrying on with current energy policy, or B, in favour of shifting to a more sustainable energy policy? Well, you should be able to work out it's the second one. They want us to shift to a sustainable energy policy. That's not a fact, it's just a position that they take. Some people will disagree, others will agree. It's their stance. Step 7, perspective. Now, perspective are the ways we can situate the text in relation to historical, geographical, cultural, environmental, physical, legal, technological, ethical, economic issues, and so on. There's some examples online. So what are the perspectives in this text? We have the physical perspective about energy, scientific perspective, how does it work, global perspective, individual perspective, economic, financial, we've mentioned cost in this text, environmental, we talk about sustainability, and political, there's talk of governments. So we have perhaps 8 perspectives in this short text. The topic, energy, is treated or analysed, explored, presented using these perspectives. The authors have selected these perspectives to present their information. Step 8, citation. This is particularly important in academic texts. Now this text, its genre is a textbook and it doesn't contain in-text references. Other texts, such as articles, reports, contain references to other sources. That's citation. We'll explore this in another talk. Step 9, critical response and evaluation. Here's the text. Who are the people behind it? Who is behind the text? Where is the text situated? What is it related to? Okay. We can also, at this point, reflect on this text. We can use questions like, how has this text contributed to my understanding of the topic? Can I make predictions based on the information in the text? How would this text be interpreted in my culture? British culture, Saudi Arabian culture, Chinese culture, New Zealand culture, Nigerian culture, Argentinian culture. Whatever the culture is, it's different. Finally, the next step, the last step, is next steps and action. What can I do? What can I take away from this text? How can I use it? I've put at the end the 10 questions for reading, and when we're reading, work through these 10 steps and you'll achieve better academic reading. I'm Edward de Chazal. Thank you very much for listening.